Welcome, and today we'll be painting these anemones. I just love this flower. They're so beautiful. They come in all kinds of colors. I'm going to be taking you step by step how to paint these in a white violet color, but you can choose any color you wish with the technique I'll be showing you. This is a how to paint flowers in watercolor, and you could apply this tutorial to poppies or any type of 5-petal flower. Okay, so let's get started, and remember to click on the timestamps when you want to skip to the parts that you're interested in. These are the watercolors that I used. You can try to match the colors similar to what you have on hand. And I'll be using these fancy erasers, and I just want to showcase my absolute favorite mini eraser here, and you'll be seeing more of it later, and we'll be going through all the watercolor brushes that I use. So let's start off with drawing the flower. If you're not good at making circles, I really love that ruler. It makes the perfect circle. It's great as a guide, but we have to keep in mind that flowers are not perfect, so just try to make these petal shapes a little bit squiggly and not so perfect. And for sketching out the side view, we're just going to make an oval shape, and then we're going to make sort of like a cup shape at the bottom, and then the center is just going to be a half circle. Then we're going to trace out 3 petals on top, and then we're going to trace out 2 petals going towards the center from the bottom. Now to trace out the stems, we're going to start from the center, and then we're just going to make one straight line down. And the leaves are very ragged, so we are just going to do these little squiggly lines, and the leaves are quite short, so we're just going to add a few here and there. Now we're going to clean it up with this kneadable art eraser, and then to get into those little spaces, I love using this eraser from Tombow, and your sketch should be looking nice and clean. Okay, while you get out your paint and your paint brushes, I'll just show you my little vlog of when I went to Paris. I had such a great time. I tried out these amazing croissants, and it was an experience. I don't know if you've seen my social media, but I took all kinds of photos, and it was just exquisite. I really dream of going back to Paris one day. Hope you guys aren't too jealous, but if you're ready for step 2, we will be color mixing a type of white watercolor. To achieve this, we're going to tone down the burnt umber with a touch of blue, and this is going to create a very, very light beige. And I'm just going to swatch it out on my watercolor paper, and the more water you add, the lighter the color will be. And then I really wanted to create some violet flowers, so I'm just going to mix up my cobalt violet with the blue, and this is going to create a really pretty light violet purple. You can use any purple you have on hand. You can even use pink. This is just the color that I was feeling. I love my collection of brushes, but if you don't have any of these brushes, a good number 4 or number 6 pointed round brush will do. It's very important to have a watercolor brush though, so as long as it's a watercolor brush, you're good. So we are going to start lining the petal with a dry on dry technique. So basically taking the color and going over the line of the petal. So we're going to put that brush down. We're going to take a clean brush. We're going to dip it into clean water only, just pure clean water. And then we're going to add the water in the middle of the petal, and we're going to drag that color down that was on the edge of the petal. We're just going to drag it down, and this is going to capture the water in that petal. And as that petal is still wet, we're going to grab some of the color violet, and we're just going to dip it in of the edge of the petal. And this is a wet on wet technique, and this is just going to make the color spread on its own, and it's going to create a beautiful gradient effect. Here I'm dabbing the color, and I'm trying to control where the color goes, but essentially it's better just to let the color flow and spread out on its own to get the best result. So I'm just going to repeat this process of adding the dry on dry technique of outlining the petal first, And then I'm going to take a brush and add clean water, and I'm going to add the water into the center of the petal. I'm going to fill it up with water, and then I'm going to add some color now, and I'm going to drop in the color at the edge of the petal, just at the bottom, and let the color spread. And let it spread out, and I might add just a little bit more color to the other petal, and I'll let the watercolor do its magic. I'm just going to repeat this process to all of the petals. Okay, now we're going to mix the color for the stems and the leaves, and I'm going to use this green earth that I really love, and I'm going to mix it up with some cad yellow, and I'm going to mix up 2 greens. So I'm going to mix up the green with a little bit of the cad yellow, and this is just going to create sort of like a highlighted effect for all my leaves. So I'm going to paint over the stems with the darker green first. For the leaves, I'm going to use the same technique. I'm going to outline the leaf first, and then I'm going to add clean water into the middle, and then just at the edge I'm going to add in the dark color, and then at the top I'm going to add in the lighter green yellow color. So I'm just using the same technique, outlining, adding the water, and then dropping in the color on the edge of the leaf. So I'm going to add a dark green at the bottom of the leaf and a lighter yellow green more at the top, sort of like a highlight. Now we're ready to paint in the stamens. So we're going to mix 2 blacks. Now they're not true blacks. I'm going to mix a really dark black, and this is a lighter black, which I mix in a little bit of blue with it's actually called Payne's Gray, but you can use any dark color that you have on hand. And I'm just going to mix in 2 shades. So this is the lighter softer black, and then I want a really a darker black that will really pop out of the page. When the petals are dry, it's very important that the petals are dry. I'm ready to start adding my centers. So I'm going to start off with the lighter, softer black, and I'm just going to fill it in. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of dots around with the softer black first. Now I'm going to add in the darker black right in the center, and I'm just going to let it spread out, and then I'm going to let it dry. So I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to add in the lighter black, the little dots, and I'm going to drop in the dark black in the center, let it spread, and then I'm going to let it dry. Once it's dry, I'm going to take out the tiniest brush that I have, and I'm going to take out my darkest black, and I'm going to draw in the lines and the dots. And I'm just going to draw a few lines here and there. I don't want to do too many lines, and I'm just going to scatter my dots here and there as well. I'm going to do the same for the side flower. And then the last step, I'm just going to add in some pops of color, some highlights, and some depth where needed. You can even skip this step if you just like that softer look. You could just leave it at that, or you can go in again and just play around with it. Just try not to overdo it, and you're good. And then at the end of every watercolor that I do, I like to swatch out all the colors that I used just as a reference in case I ever want to repaint this illustration. I really like to know what colors I used, and I'll just swatch it out on my illustration. Let me know down in the comments if you'll be trying out this watercolor flower technique. And if you've actually been to Paris. I actually have not. I don't know if you've noticed, and I would love it if you would come say hello. Take a peek of what I'm up to in life and my latest art projects. And I have some in-depth mixed media classes on Skillshare. And if you use my link, you can try out the membership for free. And Pinterest, I'm pinning all kinds of tips and inspiration. Well, I had a whole bunch of fun making this tutorial for you and taking a trip to Paris. Thank you so much for watching. If you've watched all the way to the end, you are a true Quainty, and I appreciate you so much. Check out my other videos in the description below. Bye!